Okay, so now we're to the part where we're putting everything that we have learned about logs together. So the first thing we see on number 19 is we have this 2 in the front. So remember, whatever's in the front is going to become our exponent. So we have log of 6 to the second power. Now remember, when we were subtracting, we're just going to divide your big numbers. So we're going to divide that by 9, by the log of 9, remember? And so then that gives us, and I'm sorry, that kind of looks like a B, but it's a 6. So the log of 36 over 9. Everybody with me? Because 6 squared is 36, which is the log of 4. And that would be your final answer. So now on number 20, we have 2 numbers in front, which means the first step is going to be making those exponents. So we have log base 4, a to the 4th, plus log base 4, b to the 2nd. Okay, so from there, remember when they're adding, then you're really just multiplying your 2 numbers together, or your 2 big numbers, but in this case we have variables. So it's going to be log base 4, a to the 4th, b squared. Okay, so now, again, look at number 21. Think to yourself, what's our first step? Okay, it's going to be log base 4, you do the 7th, right? Because we move our big numbers to exponents. And then minus log base 4, v to the 6th, because we're moving this 3 up to an exponent, but because there's already a 2 there, we're going to multiply them because of the product property, okay? And product powers, you know, whenever you're doing raising an exponent to an exponent, we multiply them. So then from there, we are going to divide because it's subtraction. See, subtraction, so we divide. So we're going to do the log base 4, u to the 7th, over v to the 6th. And that is your answer, because obviously we cannot simplify your variables anymore. Okay, so I'm going to let you do 22 on your own. But we're going to go ahead and skip down to 23, okay? So, because we have a fraction. I know how y'all get when you see fractions, and I don't want that to freak you out. So, log base 3 of 4 is just going to drop down because there's nothing really that we can simplify from there yet, okay? So then we have plus log base 3 of y. Okay, since they have the same base, we know that we're just going to multiply that 4 times the y, right? And then we have the 1/2. That's going to become an exponent. So plus log base 3, 49 to the 1/2. And so remember, anything till the 1/2 power is like the square root. So this is going to go and become log base 3, 4 times y times 7, which is log base 3, 28y. And that's your answer. All right, so remember when we are subtracting, we're actually going to divide, okay? So whenever we're condensing. So right here you have 1/3 times all of this, okay? Meaning 1/3 is going to be the exponent for the 8 and for the 27, okay? So we have the log base 5 and then 8 to the 1/3 plus, sorry, not plus, I was looking at the original one. So, and then times 27 to the 1/3. So we're taking that plus and change it to multiplication right here. And then since it's minus log base 5 of 3, remember we are going to do divided by 3 on this. So we have to look back at those properties of logs. Well, when we do that, then 1/3 is the same as cube root. So we have log base 5. The cube root of 8 is 2. The cube root of 27 is 3. And then all of that divided by 3. And we get the divided by 3 by the big number in the second log. Okay? And then from there we just simplify. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So we have log base 5 of 2 for our final answer. Okay, so now I want you to pause and I want you to work out 22, 25, and 26 on your own. When you're finished, unpause it and you will have your work there with your answers to check it and see how you did. All right, guys, so there's the answers to 22, 25, and 26, as well as the work. One thing I want to point out is in 26, see how we have 1/4 in front of log 16? So that 16 is going to become 16 to the 1/4. And the 1/4 power is the same as the 4th root. So the 4th root of 16 is the same as 2. So that's where that 2 comes from. So remember, a 1/2 power is the same as square root. A 1/3 power is the same as cube root. And a 1/4 power is the same as 4th root. All right, so now we're going to look at expanding logs, okay? So remember, when logs were multiplied together, when we expanded them, that meant that they were adding. So for number 27, we're going to start out by doing log base 6 of x plus log base 6 of y plus log base 6 of z to the 4th. Okay, because we're just taking each individual thing being multiplied together and expanding it out. The only thing here we have to expand further is taking this exponent and moving it to the front. So we rewrite everything here, log base 6 of x plus log base 6 of y plus, and here is where we change it up. We move this exponent to the front, plus 4 log base 6 of z. And so that is going to be your final answer. Okay, for number 28, the same as before, we were talking about your properties, okay? So these two are dividing, which means when we expand them, they're actually going to subtract. So we have log base 4 of a to the 9th minus log base 4 of b. So from there, we're going to move your exponent to the front like we did on 27. So we get 9 log base 4 of a minus log base 4 of b. And that is your final answer because there's nothing else there that you can expand. All right, so for 29, the new part here is raised to a power on the outside. So we are going to start by moving the power to the front and bringing down log base 7 q to the 4th plus log base 7 r squared. Okay, so that's the first thing we do is move that over, okay? Then we simplify it and expand it just like we did in 27, okay? Meaning that we're going to move those exponents to the front. So now we have 2 times 4 times log base 7 times 9 plus 2 times log base 7 times r. And remember, we're just taking those exponents and putting them at the front, okay? And finally, we use distributive property. I don't know if it's really technically distributive property, but think of it that way. That's the easiest thing y'all can do. Okay, so we're going to say 2 times 4, and we're going to say 2 times 2 here. So our big numbers are what you're multiplying. The log base 7, 9, and log base 7 r, ignore that, okay? We can only multiply the big numbers. So your answer is going to be 8 log base 7, 9 plus 4, because 2 times 2 is 4, log base 7r. And there's nothing else we can do to it, and so that is your final answer. Okay, so I had to erase that answer from 29 to be able to have room to work 30. So if you need that, just back up and in the video. So here, the same exact thing as we did in 29, except we're dealing with division instead of multiplication. But we have this exponent first, okay? So we're going to take this exponent and move it to the front before we do anything. So it's going to be 2 times log base 2 y, because it's on top, and then minus, because remember it's division, log base 2 z to the 5th. Okay? And so then from there, what can we move? What needs to move? We can't have any exponents, right, in our expanded form, so we need to move that 5. So we're going to say 2 log base 2y minus 5 times log base 2z. Sorry, that was an ugly z right there. Okay? And then from there, we do our kind of distributive property again and multiply by the big numbers in front. Well, you don't have anything in front of log base 2y, so it's like an understood 1. So we do 2 times that understood 1, and so we get 2 log base 2y minus 10, and then log base 2z. From there, there's no more exponents. There's nothing we can expand anymore. So that is your final answer. Okay, so on 31, we have a square root. So what exponent did we say is the same as having a square root? To the 1/2 power, right? So we're going to rewrite this first as log of 7x to the 3rd to the 1/2 power. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is move that 1/2 power to the front, and 7 and x to the 3rd are multiplying, so we're going to add those when we expand them. So it's going to look like this. Our 1/2 comes into the front, and then we have log of 7 plus log of x to the 3rd. So from there, what can we move around? The exponent, right? We can't have an exponent. So it's going to have 1/2 times log of 7 plus 3 times log of x. Okay, because we're just moving that exponent in front. From there, we do our kind of distributive property thing. Okay, we don't have anything here at the front of log, that log base, or the log 7. So we're just going to say 1/2, because it's like 1/2 times 1 times the log of 7 plus, what is 1/2 times 3? It's 1.5, right? Or 3 over 2. Let's keep it in fraction form to keep everything uniform. Times the log of x. And from there are no more exponents or anything else we can expand. So this is your final answer. Now, go ahead and look at 32. Last one. All right? So, first thing we do is the same thing we did on 31. All right? Except it is a 4th root. So that means our exponent for 4th roots is going to be 1/4. Okay? So, we're going to take that 1/4 and we are going to bring it to the front. So that's 1/4 log base 3. Okay, and the first thing that we're multiplying is m to the 5th. And since we're multiplying, is it going to be plus or minus? It's going to be plus, right? So plus log base 3 n squared. Okay? So now from there, we move our exponents to the front. All right? So we have m to the 5th and n squared. Those are the exponents I'm talking about. So that 1/4 is going to come down. And then we have 5 times log base 3m plus 2 times log base 3n. Okay? So now what is the final step that you need to do? Your distributive property where you multiply your 1/4 times your big numbers. So we have 5/4 log base 3m, because 1/4 times 5 is 5/4, plus 1/4 times 2 is 1/2, times log base 3n. And that is your final answer. So once you see the pattern and you can really think using these properties, it's not bad, y'all, but this is something you've never seen before, and you will probably have to watch your video more than once, okay? So this is due Tuesday by midnight, and your new work will start posting this week, all right? So go through this. We have our normal Zoom on Thursday, and I can't wait to hear how everybody's Easter was. Talk to you soon.